Hello everyone and welcome to another Ventuz 8 tutorial. Today I want to show you how you can use a joystick or a gamepad to control a Ventuz scene. In my case I have here my joystick, and with this little joystick I'm able to control this little white dot and the particle system inside Ventuz. So we will cover things like C# scripting, because we need to create a little script to do this, or to achieve this effect behind, right? So, but don't be worried. These are very, very basics in C# scripting, and I hope you will like it. Let's jump right in. So first thing, what we have to do, I simply go here and look for joystick, and then you can see already I have my joystick here now. And if I move my joystick, right, then you can see we get here the X and Y values, yeah, from -1 to 1. This is the X one and here the Y as well, okay? So these two values we will basically use to control an axis, right? So let's do that. Let's use axis right now, and let's put that axis here and also a circle. And let's put that circle here. And what we want to do, basically, I want to control the X and Y value with our joystick, right? So there are multiple ways how we can achieve this. As you saw already, we have here now our X and Y values, and you can also see even if I don't touch my joystick, it's not 0, right? So this is just because it's a little bit older joystick maybe already, but we will also fix this very soon. Okay, so how we achieve that? We simply could say, okay, come on, we use a clipping node. We put a clipping node here and take the input from X, for example, and then we know, okay, we know our minimum input is -1 and our maximum input is 1. So we simply could say here from -1 to 1 is our min and max input, and our min max out could be something like -20 to 20. And if I bind this now to our X property of the axis, right, then we are already able to control this thing with our joystick, right? So if I take here my joystick, and as you can see, I can move it now with X and Y. But that's actually not really what I want. What I want to do is I want to use it to basically increase that speed or the X and Y value, right? Basically what I want to do, I will use that value and I will multiplicate it with whatever value this X or Y position has, right? So to do that, we need a scripting node. So let's use a C# scripting node. To get into that scripting node, we simply have to double click this node, and then the script editor inside Ventuz will open, okay? So just a quick explanation here about that scripts, basically. So Ventuz is creating that basic script, so that script template, basically. You have here on the left side, you can create your custom inputs and outputs, right? And inside here, you have to create then your logic, So what I will do first I will create here a simple single, a float number, and then we have this single here. If we double click it or press F2, then we can rename it, right? So my first input should be speed X, okay? So this is the speed for my X position, right? And then I create another one, and this will also be a single or float, and this would be my speed Y, okay? So speed X, speed Y, that's good. And as an output, I also need 2 floats, and these are also singles. And this would be our position X. Let's double click here, and that's our position X. And again, single and our position Y. Okay. So now we have this, let's compile it, and everything is good. So what I will do now I basically have to create some simple logic inside Ventuz, here inside that script, where I say whatever X value we have, press my joystick to the right, then we get a positive value, right? If I press it to the left, then we get a negative value. And with that 2 values, I will use these values, -1 to 1, to multiplicate the position of our axis, okay? So very simple. So what we have to consider here, in a Ventuz script, we have here, for example, that nice comments, right? So this means this method is called, the dispose method is called if the component is unloaded or disposed. Okay, that's not interesting for us. Then here that the script, that first, this method basically, right? This method is called if the component is loaded or created, okay? And then we have here a validate method. That means this method is called if an input property has changed its value, okay? And we also have here our generate method, and this method is basically called every frame. Yeah. So depending what we want to do, we have to decide which method do we want to use, right? So of course we could say, hey, I want to put everything here in the generate because I want to have that everything is calculated, or that script is running each frame. But you have to be carefully with that, yeah, because you know, if you have a complex logic, for example, then it's very performance intense, or it could be very performance intensive. So I will use, for now, I will use that generate. Yeah? I use this generate because we don't make a very complex logic. And what I do inside here, I simply say our output, right? So our position X first. Our position X, because X is our actual position X, plus our speed X. Okay, so that's the very first thing. So I simply assign to the position X, which is 0 right now, because we're just starting out, right? That means the new position is the actual position 0 plus speed X. If the position X is 1, then we will basically add to that number 1 our speed X. Okay, so and we will do exactly the same for our position Y. Y is position Y, the actual value, multiplied, no, sorry, plus our speed Y. And I have to correct this one. Like this better. Okay. Compile, save, and let's see what's happening now. So if I bring this up, then you can see if I bring that to 0.5, our position X is running up. Yeah? If I do the same here with my Y, then you can see our position Y is running down. Okay, if I bring that back to 0, this to 0, then it will stop, but it will hold that value. Okay, so next thing what I have to do, I will bind basically from our joystick the X and Y value to that speed input, okay, of our script speed X. Let's bring that here. X is X and speed Y is our axis Y. Okay, and as you can see now in our script output, they are running already, right? If I press my joystick to the right, we have a +1, yeah, so we will add 1 per frame. If I push it to the left, then we add -1 each frame, right? So you can see if I push it to the left, the number is going down here in the X. If I push it to the right, the number is going up. Okay, so one thing what we have to do also, or a couple of things what we have to do, as I told you, let me show you that quickly. I don't touch that joystick right now, right? But of course, I don't know how it's called, but there's a little offset, yeah, or jitter inside. So I want to, basically get rid of that, right? I want to add a little value that I can say there in that limit, nothing is happening. Okay, I want to be, the values should be 0. Okay, let's do that. Let's jump back into our script node. Let me take off here. Okay, now we are back here in our script node. So first thing what I will do, I add here another single and I call that maybe limit, something like that. So that value I will define. I want to define that value from outside later, okay? So what I will do, I have to put this simple addition, I have to put this in a if construct, okay? So what I will do, if our position X, no, sorry, our speed, because I want to control our input values, right, from our joystick. If my speed X is smaller than our limit, or, and this, the or sign in Ventuz are these two vertical lines, or our speed X is larger than our limit, right? Actually, I have to write it our minus limit, yeah? So if it's smaller than our minus limit, let's say I give my limit the value 0.1, right? So that means if my speed X is smaller than minus 0.1, or if my speed X is larger than 0.1, then do that, else do nothing, okay? So let's put that in the brackets. Okay, and then we need also our curly brackets open. Bring that guy a bit inside, and let's bring it up first. Sorry. So now let's do it like this, better. Okay, and then we close here our if-else construct, okay? So else our speed x is 0. Okay, good. And the semicolon to change that. And then we do exactly the same for our position y. Okay, so let's do that as well. Let's copy that because I'm lazy. Speed y, our speed y is smaller than our minus limit, and our speed y is larger than our limit. Then our position y will be calculated. And let's close also here that if else and else our speed y is 0. Okay, so that's basically it. One thing we have to do as well, I will show you that very, very soon. Let's try that first. Okay, property or index is speed x cannot be assigned to, it's read only. Okay, let's see where we are here. Exactly. So actually we don't need this guy. We don't need that else. Let's take it off because of course our speed x and y is input, so we cannot change that. That makes totally sense. Let's compile that, let's save it, and let's see what our script is doing right now. So as you can see right now, nothing is happening because our script is still running because I didn't set up here our limit. Yeah, so if I put my limit now to 0.1, now it stops, right? Because as you can see, our input is now below 0.1, yeah, x and y. And as you can see, if I go to the right side, if I move now, then everything works like expected. Okay, so first problem solved. Now we need another function, yeah, because I also want to be able to have here something like a method to reset our position x and y back to 0. Okay, because if I bind this now to our x and y, right, if I bind this now to our x and y, maybe we are lucky, then we are not, because now our y value is far out of our render window. Okay, so let's create another method in our script. I will create another input here in our script that will be a message, a button basically. If I press it, then our position x and position y should be 0. Okay, let's do that. Let's jump into our script. To create an input method, you simply go here like we did before with a float. You simply go here and you can see you can create any kind of variables, basically booleans, arrays and stuff like that. I want to create a method. Let's create this method now and let's call that our reset. Once you created a method, then you simply double click it here, and then you can see Ventuz automatically adds this new method into your script or into our script. Okay, so inside here we do our reset logic now. Our reset logic is very simple. We simply will say if this method is running, then our position x will be 0 and our position y will be 0. So we do that simply by position x 0, semicolon, and our position y is 0 as well. Okay, let's do that and let's compile and save and let's press that method and check here what's happening when I press reset. Position x and y 0. Okay, second problem solved as well. But as you can see, I reset it now, but we still cannot see our circle. Okay, even we can see, hey, our x and y are 0, but why we cannot see our circle? I will show you. This is very important if you use Ventuz scripting. This is a very, very important technique you should use or know. We have here in our generate node, we have here that changed boolean. Okay, that means we have to tell basically Ventuz, or we can tell Ventuz with this changed boolean, hey, something is changed. Please update all the bindings I have on this script. Okay, so let's do that now. To do that, we simply have to tell Ventuz in the methods or whenever we want that something is changed. Okay, and we do that right here. We do that basically here. We basically do it now every frame. That's not very, very nice, but it doesn't matter because it's not very complex. We actually could do it inside here, right? Because then it's not happening every frame, because then it's just happening if I move my joystick basically over that limit. Let's change that to no. Come on, doesn't matter. Let's put it here and let's change this true. Okay, so now we have this done already. We have it now in our calculation where we calculate basically the position x and y, but we also have to do it here in our changed. Okay, and here we do the same. Changed is true. And of course, what Ventuz is doing, if this value is changed, you can see over here, this is by default inside. If changed is true, then Ventuz will change it back to false every frame, okay? And this changed exactly tells Ventuz now, all other nodes say, update my other nodes. And you can see now we have here our circle back in the center. If I move now my joystick to the left or right a little bit, you can see if I move it a little bit, then it's going slowly. If I move it fully to the left or right, then it's going quick. So now I also want to add a third logic, or basically a third value here. We have our limit, we have our inputs x and y, and the limit for that, to get rid of that jitter, I want to add a global speed. Yeah, let's call it a float value. It's called global speed. So with that value, I will be able then to control the total speed, right? I can make it super small, so I have very sensitive control, or I can make it large. Okay. So let's do that. Let's jump into our script node again. And here I add another input. That's a single, and we call that global speed. Okay. And this global speed will basically be a multiplicator, okay? So I do that over here. I say here simply, I put this in brackets, position x plus position y, multiplied by our global speed. Okay? And I do the same here with our position y. What did I do here? Yes, that's correct. So I put that here, I put that first two guys into brackets, and then I make the multiplication by global speed as well. Global speed. And compile it, and let's save it, the name global speed. Yes, there is a typo. And I saw it already, come on. Here is double S. Compile it, all good, save. So now it's 0. So that means actually nothing is happening, right? Because multiplication by 0 is 0. So I put it now maybe to 0.1, right? And you can also see it's not really working. Let's put it to 1. And now you can see now it's working. Let's put it maybe to 0.5. Still not working perfectly. So there must be somewhere an error. Probably some of you saw it already. What I'm doing here, position x is position x, the actual position, plus speed x, multiplied by our global speed. So that's correct. Is that right? Global speed float. Yes. What's wrong here? Let's check. Position y. Let's do it the other way. These two guys. This and let's do this. That. So these two guys in brackets. And again, I do a lot of typos today. Sorry. Okay, compile and save and close, and let's check that again. Okay, that looks better. Let's put to 0.1. Yes, now it works. Yeah, so that was a mistake with my brackets in that addition and multiplication. So again, global speed 0.1 means I can control it super slowly. If I make that to 10, for example, then I can control it pretty quick. Right? So let's put that to 0.5 maybe and reset it. And yes, I think this is a smooth and nice control of that little red dot. Okay, so I think this is basically it already, right? So you saw now it's, we simply have two nodes in our hierarchy, and we have one script node and our joystick node, and we had to write down here a couple of lines, and we have already control with our joystick, okay? So if you want, I will go on now and make that thing a little bit more fancy. For example, I will put another particle system, right? Let's simply say axis, no, not axis. Let's simply put a particle system. I simply put it somewhere here. I don't put it behind the axis because I will take control of the particle system with a simulation. Yeah, so the particle system itself or the source I will move, right? So let's do that. Let's go to the particle system. And of course, if you want to know more learn more about particle systems, I also have a tutorial about particle systems. I actually have a couple of tutorials about particle systems, so feel free to check the link here below to learn more about the particle system. Anyway, let's go on here. I need a source and I need a sprite. And then we see here already is our particle system. In our source, I will change a couple of things. Our speed y I put back to 0, and our random speed I put maybe to 5, something like that, or maybe to 3, that's okay. And I will also add maybe a bit of a color, a gradient. And let's bring that over here. And I also will put on a simulation. And as soon as I bring in a simulation, then my gradient gives me an error. You can see in a simulation loop, color alpha attribute must be overwritten before it can be added or multiplied. Okay, we do that here. Simple and easy. Foop, error is gone. And my color, I want to have maybe here my white should be, let's keep it white, but the black should not be black. We make that a bit bluish, something like that. Okay, and then let me add another gradient. Where we are here, gradient, and we put that here as well. We have to override it over here, and this one should not affect our color in alpha. This one should affect our size over lifetime. Okay, and let me also adjust that a little bit here. So maybe I bring this guy more to here. Yes, that they keep large up to the very end, and then they get small. Okay, what I also will do, I will increase maybe a little bit our lifetime, maybe to 3, and maybe the random lifetime, where we are, lifetime, random lifetime, maybe 5%. Okay, so now last thing, I have to control our particle system. I can do that if I simply change here the entity to an anchor, right? And now I simply need to put the anchor here behind our control axis. Let's do that, the anchor. Let's put it here under our circle, and then we simply connect here our particle system, the anchor, from our source to our anchor. And now our particle system is nicely bound here to our controlled joystick, controlled circle. Okay, everyone, I hope you like this. If so, like it, subscribe it if you are not have already. And let me know in the comments if you want to know anything more about joystick control or anything else. We also have opened our new Patreon channel, where you also can find a couple of ready-to-use scenes like movie players or tutorials. So check it out. I put the link down in the description. Until then, bye-bye.